Let's take a look at the concept of Bila and Zilpah, or the handmaidens. The reason I want to do this is I want to clear up in your mind the difference between what a handmaiden is and a wife, or could they be both? And I want to show you by the study that once they became the wives, they were no longer the handmaidens. I want to show you the concept in the Hebrew. Your Bibles are not going to show this because your Bibles are from the Greek or from the Latin. So let's look at the first one on here, and it says that Rachel, gave Jacob or Jacob Bila as his wife, and Leah gave Zilpah to Jacob as his wife. Okay, so I want to look at the terms gave and wife. These two terms in the Hebrew. This is the interlinear, and what you'll see is 5414 as means and gave watatin, and wife is laisha, is 802, or to wife. This is where Laban was negotiating. Well, Jacob was negotiating with Laban, the father of Rachel, and Laban says, it's just as well that I should give her to you than I would give her to another man. So that same term is in the Hebrew, the Strong's number 5414 is the same one that both Rachel and Leah are using. Or in this case, Leah is using that she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. Okay, so the same term, 5414, and we'll see that it's the same identical term that is used to be able to say to give. So if Jacob is negotiating with Laban, and Laban is giving her, then, and we see that there was a ceremony that was involved, even though he was tricked, and he gets Leah, and after he fulfills Leah's week, and then he gets Rachel immediately after 7 days, also as a wife. So the assumption is that basically that they were married. According to their customs at the time, there was an agreement within the family. There was a contract that was there. Okay, so the same term, the same phraseology is used in watitin and titai. Okay, so and then the second one I want to look at is 802, or to wife. What does that mean? Oh, isha, or ish is man. Isha would then be woman. Laisha means that he gave her, or he gave this woman to Jacob. So it's translated to wife, but he gave her this woman. He gave her a woman. It was his woman now that was going to be Laisha. That's what that's translated. Whenever we see the term her husband, it actually means it's her man. It's just translated wife and husband for our benefits. Okay, so this is that term. Now I want to show you one more place where I remembered when I was looking at this, where I saw the same phrases, and this is why phrases to me are so important. Then when you go into the New Testament, you can apply them the same way. In this case, we're talking about Abraham, Sarai, and Hagar. Abram, Sarai, and Hagar. And after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Abram and his wife took Hagar the Egyptian. He took Hagar and her maid, or her handmaiden, and gave her. Is it the same phrase to her husband as his wife? Is that the same phrase? And when we look at it, we'll see that to give, again, is the same thing, 5414, watitin. And then wife is Laisha, is or 802 is gave her as his woman, is basically what that is, or a wife, the way that it's translated to the English. And you look in the middle of it and you'll see Isha, 582, her husband. So he's a man, Ish, but it's her husband, her man. So that's where Yisha comes from. Okay, so the same terms, the same concepts, and so if Hagar, and we haven't been taught this, but if Hagar or if Hagar was a wife to Abram, then Bila and Silpa were also the wives to Jacob. And we see that, if you read the story, you'll see that there were four tents. They each had a separate tent. They each raised their own kids under their own tents. So they are not handmaidens anymore. Now they're wives. In the case of Abraham, Abraham gives her back to Sarai, doesn't sleep with her anymore, and then it eventually winds up dismissing her. Okay, so if we can look at it this way, and we can make the connection, we can connect the dots. I want to show you the opposite. I want to show you something different that I ran into when I was looking at the divorce. Some of you are not going to like this. Some of you are not going to accept this, but I'm still going to show it to you. Because it's okay, there. So it says, and Abram rose early in the morning, and he took bread, skin of water, and gave them to Hagar, put in them on her shoulder, and gave her the boy, and sent her away. So this is the second time. The first time when Sarah dismisses Hagar, an angel finds her, makes her to return. This is the second time where now Abram is dismissing her, and this time she doesn't come back. So it says that he sent her away. That phrase is why shall keha 7971, and he sent her away. Then I was remembering when I was studying the Exodus that I saw that same phrase, sent her away. I saw the same identical phrase, but this had to do with that when Jethro. Now we go into the Exodus, and when I first read the story, I'm reading that when God called Moses, Moses is taking Zipporah and the two sons into Egypt. For whatever reason, then we read afterwards that when they came out, Jethro was bringing his wife and the two sons to Moses. And I'm saying, wait a minute, what happened? Well, it tells you right here, after he had sent her away. So what happened? We don't know. We don't know what the story is. But what we do know is that she did not go with Moses into Egypt. So when they come out for the Exodus, this is before Mount Sinai. They come out from the Exodus, and then Jethro brings Zipporah to Moses after he had sent her away. So I want to look at that phrase. That phrase is a little different. You see that the one for Abraham is 7971. This is 7964, or it comes before the one for Abraham. So it's almost the same. Shilowakeha. It's almost the same, but the difference is in the variation. He had sent her back, while the other one is he sent her away. So one is he sent her back, and the other one is he sent her away. But they're almost the same. The same roots are there on both of them. Just a little bit difference in the spelling. So what does this mean? If we were to look at 7964, this is what we're going to find. Again, some of you are not going to like this, but when you look at it, it says 7964, or Shiloh is from 7964 is from 7971, the one that Abraham had. It says a dismissal of a wife, divorce, especially the document. So in other words, this is their concept of having divorced, or having separated, having sent them back, and it's also with a repayment of a dowry. You know that the way the King James translate this, they don't want to touch the concept of divorce. So they choose to apply it in the way that they need to. But in the Hebrew, it's very clear. When they sent them back, they are divorced or separated from them, no longer to deal with them anymore. I don't know why Moses sent her back, Zipporah. We don't have the story. We don't have the reason. We don't have the issue. But one of the things that we do know in the story of Nehemiah, is that when the sons of Israel had married the women from the other nations, then they had a council, and they said, do you want to follow us with our God? We have to go this way. If you will go with us, then we'll go ahead and accept you. The ones that did not want to convert over, did not want to change from their culture, they were sent back, or they were divorced and sent back. because they didn't want to follow after God. So therefore they would have hindered, and this is why God says, do not marry the women of the other nations. They will affect you. They will bring other gods to you. And this we saw that this happened with Solomon in his old age. You know, he was building temples for these women in order to keep them pacified. He married them not for the issue of sex, but in order to be able to have a contract with the other nations. So this is why he had many wives. I don't think he slept with all of them, you know. But so it was it's still a contract. It's still a contractual thing, but with the nation, in order for them to be him to be at peace at those nations. So Abraham and Moses sent these women back. They divorced these women. You know, again, I know we don't teach this. I know we don't look at it, but it's right there in front of you. You know, and Hagar was a part of God's plan because from her came a totally different nation. So that's part of it. Zipporah, I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened with Moses. I do know she's not an Israelite. She doesn't fit in where the Ethiopian women came out with the Israelites, but I don't know what tribe she had attached herself, other than the fact that because of Mary and Moses, now she's part of the Levites, you know, and there it is. You know, I couldn't get around it. But this is why these phrases are real important. I know sometimes I will say things in some of the other videos that some of you will struggle with, but I'm telling you from a good place. I've done some homework, I've done some study, and most of these I can prove. If there's something that I say somewhere that you're not sure of, you can send me a message and I'll try to clarify it. I wanted to clarify this for you. This is part of the divorce teaching that I did. Whether we like it or not, it's right there. So they were sent away. So Zilpah and Bilhah are full-fledged wives of Jacob. They are not sex slaves. They are not given over to him in order for him to enjoy them. They're given as wives. We don't have the ceremony. We don't have the detail because it's one sentence. The narrative is about the sons that are coming, the 12 sons that have to be born. So it's a one or two sentences that are there, and he gave her, and then all of a sudden she bears him. But you know that there's 9 months that have to pass in between. So it was something that was understood. It was something that was accepted. Don't have the ceremony, but let's just assume that there was a ceremony that was made. Okay, I hope I confused you too much, and God bless.